How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be continuing my Sharks of Summer series. Sharks of Summer is a series I do around here on this channel where once a week, at least once during the summer, I take a look at a shark movie, and today we have a sci-fi original movie, and that is Toxic Shark. Toxic Shark from 2017, directed by Cole Sharpe, stars Kabby Borders, Bryce, Durfee, and Etebari. And I have it right here in this Etebari Toxic Shark Includes Two Movies pack. It features Beneath the Mississippi and Croczilla. The bonus movies are on their own disc, and Toxic Shark has its own disc. Now, that being said, I also have this on the Meg A Shark Collection, which features 8 movies on 2 discs. And this pack I was working on during last year's Sharks of Summer. 8 movies, and I covered 5 of them. So one of my goals for Sharks of Summer this year is to finally finish off this pack. But if we're being completely honest, this movie, Toxic Shark, was one of them that really killed my momentum with this pack. And I don't want to harp on it too hard. I'm not a comedy teardown channel. I don't find little B movies and make fun of them. I do what I consider to be fair film analysis, be it positive or negative. And this movie, it sadly really isn't that great. And it shouldn't have been that bad. I mean, there is some money behind this, you know, sci-fi money, not the biggest thing ever, but something. And, you know, you get some good shots, some drone footage, clean professional cinematography. It's not bad, and they got a cool set, a resort on this big island for the characters to run around, and they even have a unique CGI model for their shark. You see, it's got this little horn. It spits out acid from the horn, or goo. And it's a unique CGI model that actually at times can interact with the humans, which is, that's the step. You know, I look at a lot of these micro-budget shark movies, and they rely on the thrash, edit, kill. You get either stock footage or a CGI model of a shark, and you show it swimming around, and then you intercut that in the editing room with a character in the water thrashing, and you edit that together, the shark killed someone. That's your standard micro-budget shark kill. But when you up the game to actually having the CGI shark interacting with the people, even in a small way, you're going from micro-budget to low-budget, so there is a little bit of money here. And it shouldn't have been too terribly bad, but sadly, this really isn't a great movie. I started to watch this last year during Sharks of Summer 2021. I couldn't make it through it. I made it about 30 minutes, and I just got really tired, and I think I fell asleep or something, and I just never came back to it until all the way into Sharks of Summer 2022. And yeah, it's just really forgettable. You know how I've said it before, bad movies, you forget about them a little bit after you watch them. If you're not thinking about the movie the next day, it's really not a great movie. And being forgettable is one of the worst things that you can be as a movie. And this wasn't forgettable as in I forgot about it the next day. This was forgettable as in I felt like I was forgetting about it as I watched it. You know, I was forgetting how the movie begun before I even got to the end of the movie. And it's just, it's not memorable. And I try to think, okay, I've seen so many B-grade shark movies, and a lot of them of technically worse quality than this. Why do I feel this way about this shark movie? And I think the answer is, it gets lost in the fog. The fog is sort of this thing that I see in movies sometimes, or at least that's what I call it, where you have elements, you have characters, you have plot points, and they're supposed to stand out, they're supposed to be memorable, and even though they may be there in a movie, they just don't stand out, and they get lost in the fog. And this movie has that problem in abundance. There's several characters in here, and some of them try to do bits, and a few of them are kind of memorable, but there's no great standout characters in this movie, and a lot of the characters don't stand out at all. And if they die, you barely even notice it, and a lot of the characters get lost in the fog. And same with the plot points. There's so many plot points, like the workers don't like working here, and there's this water testing kit that gets a comical amount of screen time, really. And then there's like, an anti-shark magnet. There's so many little plot points, but none of them stand out. If you have a plot, introduce the clear major plot elements and show the audience the direction that the plot is moving in, or at least the one that you want them to think it's moving in. But you have to have a train of thought, and you have to illustrate your train of thought to the audience so that we can follow along on the train tracks, I guess you'd say. But this, it has so many little plot elements, none of them stand out, and by the end of the movie, you just kind of feel like you're wandering aimlessly without any real plan or destination in mind. And yeah, the characters and the plot in this movie just gets lost in the fog, and without anything to grab onto, the movie becomes forgettable. And yeah, there's no real standout elements. The most standout element is the shark. It's a unique shark. Sadly, it's underutilized. The shark in this one has his little horn, and he sprays toxic goo out of the horn. Now, sadly, even though it's called Toxic Shark, we don't get that 80s ooey gooey feel. No Toxic Avenger elements in here, sadly. But anyway, he sprays his goo onto people, and when you get gooed, you go crazy. You start saying random things that are out of context in your head, like, no, Mom, I don't want to do that, and it kind of, you wonder where these thoughts are coming from in the character's past, and then they start to wander aimlessly, and they start to attack people, but not in a super threatening way, like one of them pushes someone off a pier. And later on, it does get more threatening, and they do get more violent, and they eventually actually build into a somewhat reasonable threat and an interesting plot element. But where the gooed people go at the end of the movie should have happened way sooner. Like, it should have been like the halfway mark, but the whole, crazy people story element, by the time it builds to something interesting, the movie's almost over, and that really does suck. The shark also doesn't get enough screen time. It's expensive. Part of me wonders if the crazy people got as much screen time as they did, because actors acting crazy is much cheaper than a CGI shark, but that's beside the point. You don't see much of the shark, and the kills, even if they're big character kills, don't really have super much of any impact. It's nothing too gnarly, and it's just kind of like, okay, and yeah, it's the toxic shark. It deserved better than this. It deserved more memorable moments, but even the shark struggles to stand out in this movie. So yeah, if you guys are B shark movie junkies, this will be another one of those. Not a great standout example, and sadly, with a little bit of budget, it really should have been. But overall, for the junkies, it's gonna be fine, but it's nothing to write home about. If you just want a movie to pass the time in a lazy afternoon, this will do it good enough, but you're not gonna remember it super well. It's already starting to fade from my memory, like like I'm an adult that found Pennywise the Clown and it's just starting to drain out of my head. Anyway, without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and talk a bit about the plot. I'm not gonna do any major spoilers, so I won't be ruining the ending or anything, but I do want to analyze the plot, make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what this movie's about. We open up with a couple, a guy and a girl racing down the beach on four-wheelers. And they're racing, they're talking, they're having fun, and we find out that the girl that he's with right now is not his girlfriend, but his girlfriend's sister, and they're having an affair. And she, of course, wants to call it off, and he will hit his four-wheeler on, I don't know, some random thing on the beach, and fly comedically into the water. She'll go to save him, and even though they're in like knee-high water, they somehow get pulled into the ocean, and then the toxic shark launches at the camera. And yeah, I have to say, you know, going back, because I watched the movie and I realized how forgettable it was, I had to go back and scroll through the movie and just kind of jog my memory. And boy, I forgot this whole opening sequence, you know, and I rewatched it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is how the movie opened. But a few things with this movie, it really does kind of tell how the rest of the movie will play out. We get relationship drama that we don't care about and really ultimately adds to nothing. And then we get, you know, this, you know, like he crashes his ATV and we get really bad ADR, which will happen multiple times throughout the rest of the movie. And then just a really lame kill where it like not even waist-high water, knee-high water, and they're getting pulled in somehow. I don't know what was going on with that, but at least we got the toxic shark jumping at the camera. Anyway, after that, we get to find out the location that they're at. It's run by this guy, I think his name is Reese, and it's a fitness and singles resort. I guess it can be both. And, you know, everybody's there. They're trying to party, but this guy from, I guess, the government shows up and says that after people are visiting your resort, they are getting sick and you might be on the cusp of a lawsuit. And he gives this guy a water testing kit and says, hey, test the water, figure out what's going on. And the boss is basically like, nah, man, I just want to party. And he takes the water testing kit. He doesn't throw it into the ocean. He doesn't throw it away. He just sets it on the dock. And he sets it on the dock because the main character, the main girl, is going to need it later. And oh man, this water testing kit. People find it, people pick it up, and they'll move it. And it just moves slowly throughout this movie until it needs to get to where it goes. And there's so many people. What's that? It's a water testing kit. I don't know how it got here. And we have that little conversation over and over again all throughout the movie. Really, if this movie was more of a comedy, it could have been hilarious. But anyway, he sets the water testing kit down. He moves on, and you find out a few things about this resort. Employees are going missing, and they think it's because they're walking out on the job, even though there's not necessarily enough boats to do that. The number of boats and where they are and what's wrong with them, that's a whole nother thing. But anyway, he thinks his employees are walking out on him because of the poor working conditions. It's obviously sharks, but they don't know that yet. And he just wants to party. He wants to have his fun singles resort. And he is clearly poorly managing it to the point where they don't even know where the food's going to be coming from for dinner that night. And he gets the, like some people think he's a funny character. They like that he's kind of the party guy. But personally, I found his lack of responsibility so frustrating. Like, there's an example early on. They have a lifeguard that's also kind of the doctor. And that's the thing, is a facility this big doesn't have any kind of basic nurse or doctor or anything. They have a lifeguard that has to double as that. And he says, hey, lifeguard, fix my boat. Why? I don't know. I'm not a mechanic. I don't know how to fix the boat. Well, you're a lifeguard. You're a water doctor. The boat's in the water, and doctors fix things, so fix my boat. It is the stupidest leap of logic, and I think maybe it's supposed to be comedy, but honestly, it was just frustrating to watch this guy, and yeah, not the best character. But anyway, you have a poorly run resort, people are getting sick because of the water, and we jump to our main characters, three guys. This guy, he's heartbroken because he just broke up with his girlfriend, and now his friends are saying, hey, we're gonna take you to the singles resort, everybody's super in shape, there are all these beautiful women there, we're gonna send you out there, you're gonna find a new girlfriend, problem solved. And of course his friends are a couple of wacky goofballs, a standard horror movie fare. Then you get the main girl, and the main girl doesn't want to be at the singles resort either. She's like a scientist or something, it doesn't come up much in the movie, and her friends are like, come on, have a fun time. And she doesn't want to have a fun time either. And it turns out the main guy from the guys group and the main girl from the girls group used to be a couple. She's the one that he just broke up with and he's all upset about. And when they bump into each other, why, what are the odds that that would happen? What are the odds? They say later on that one of the guys decided to book this trip because of an ad in a magazine that he saw, but the magazine that he saw was his ex-girlfriend's magazine, and that's why they both saw the same ad, which is a little bit of an explanation, but still the same day, that's even unlikely. But anyway, they're together, and they're gonna really go to town. They're gonna really fight with each other, and it's immature, they're both in the wrong, it's a terrible fight, but at least some of the characters are doing something memorable. So yeah, they're gonna fight, and they're gonna, of course, constantly bump into each other, and they're gonna be paired off in group activities, and they're just gonna hate each other, and at least some of the characters are doing something kind of interesting, but whatever. Anyway, you know how the section of this movie is gonna go. Characters goof off, shark kills people, the main characters don't notice. So the shark's gonna eat like a yoga class, no one notices that. Then there's actually a really good example of the shark killing people and how it's treated in this movie. There's a girl on a horse, and the shark jumps up, grabs the girl off the top of the horse, and lands back in the water. I don't know how that works out, because the beach is very gradual. So in real life, it'd flop onto the water, then jump up and grab her, and then be further onto the sand. But in this movie, it shoots out of the water, grabs her, and somehow makes a 180 mid-air and goes back into the water. It's just super implausible, but in addition to being implausible just with basic physics, also, the shark didn't eat the horse. And granted, you know, it's good that the horse lived, but I mean, it's a big hungry shark, and that's a pretty big horse. I mean, you know the phrase, so hungry I could eat a horse? Why didn't the shark go after the horse? I don't know. But anyway, they eventually start to discover what's going on. They find the cable for communication to the mainland has been bitten. Obviously, the shark cut out their communication. It obviously not on purpose, except for that's totally what the writers are making it doing. Shark cut out the communication, and they find the arm of the chef character. The shark killed chef. We know there's a shark out there. And they go and they close the beaches, and they send everybody but the main characters inside their cabins. That way it's a lot more manageable. But it turns out that one of the girl's friends somehow got stung or bitten, or she's in the water with two guys, and then she goes, ow, my leg. And again, it's like waist high or below water. I don't know, what did some of the shark's goo just happen to wash by her leg? I don't know. But she gets bit or stung or whatever, and she'll become the first of the crazy people. She'll start to mumble out of context things because her brain is going, and she'll start to attack people. Again, at first so very minimal of a threat. They do get more dangerous later on, but they don't build to anything dangerous and interesting until right before the movie's over. But anyway, the girl's friend is going to be one of the first of the crazy people. But then after that, really just wandering aimlessly. There's this whole thing, you know, there's a boat there and there's a boat there and we can't take this boat for this reason and we might get to that boat for this other reason, and nothing really stands out or isn't focused, and you're like, yeah, boats, okay, I guess, sure. And there's this whole thing with magnets and the shark water testing kit thing, and they really just don't seem to have any concrete plan, and they just sort of stumble from one idea to another. But on top of all that, this is one of those movies where it seems that they came to the island in kayaks. They can't be that far from the mainland. How cut off are they really? It really feels like your solution to this problem should be don't go in the water and wait till someone comes to you. I mean, you're a resort, you're a business. There should be people coming to your island every couple of days for some reason. You know, you shouldn't have to try and fight the shark. You should just wait. Now, later on in the movie, they do introduce a reason why they have to go. Again, the interesting part at the end of the movie should have happened way sooner, because most of the movie you're just like, why do anything? Just stay in the house and wait. But anyway, it does build up to a semi-interesting finale when more stuff starts to actually happen. There are some interesting moments, but overall, just kind of an aimless movie where the plot and the characters get lost in the fog, and it was just kind of frustrating, you know? Overall, not a terrible movie. A good movie for a brain-dead afternoon when you just want to put something on and don't want to pay too much attention to it. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend going too far out of your way for this one. But shark movie junkies, it's more junk food, and it's not the worst thing ever. It just, yeah, super forgettable. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my shark movies playlist. If you want to see me talk about more shark movies, I've talked about Jaws, I've talked about The Meg, I've talked about the entire Sharknado series, the entire Deep Blue Sea series, and I even have done 5 other movies on this pack so far, and I hope to finish that off in the future. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Shark movies playlist should pop up on the bottom. Have a good day now.